Okay, this is Jackie, and I want to go over your lessons from February 26th, 2013. This is section 2, the 9:30 class, and this is my first attempt at video reflections, so let's see how we do with this. Okay, I saw several common themes with your video, and, excuse me, let's try that again. I saw several common themes with your lessons today. And one of the common themes I saw was structure, the other was explicit language, and the third common theme was what to do with the right answer. So I'm going to talk about each one of these. Loud as you're doing your lesson. And so you share your thinking as you're doing a chart or a worksheet or demonstration. And then you also ask students to share their thinking. And that whole concept of being able to think out loud is really important to first graders. It helps simplify too, and it helps you simplify if you're thinking out loud. Okay, where are we here? The next thing is explicit language. That was the next theme that I saw emerge in your lessons. Especially when you're giving directions, you need to be really, really careful with the way you say things. For example, if you say place your feet heel to toe, you know what that means, but a first grader might not. So you might need to get on your feet and show them and say, boys and girls, when I'm placing my feet heel to toe, it means that I'm putting the first foot down, and then I'm taking my second foot and I'm lining my heel up so that it touches my toe, and then I'm putting that foot all the way down. Now very carefully I'm going to bring the foot that's in back and I'm going to place it in front of the first foot, and I'm going to make it so that my heel touches my toe again. And that's what we mean when we say place your feet heel to toe. So let's give everybody a try right now. Let's see if all of you can take, 5 steps by placing your feet heel to toe, just like I did, so that they're touching. And again, you want to show, don't just tell, but show the students. And then a good idea after that is to have the students demonstrate to make sure that they understand what you mean when you say place your feet heel to toe. And again, in first grade especially, you need to use explicit language, and especially when you're giving directions, show, explain, talk while you're showing, so that you're not just giving a set of auditory directions. Okay, the next theme I wanted to address was what to do with the right answer. And I heard a lot of good jobs, and I say it, I think we all say it, but what I'd like you to do this semester is say goodbye to good job, because in the end, good job means nothing. It's not specific enough. It doesn't tell kids what they're doing right. It just tells you that they did a good job. And what exactly does that mean? When somebody gives a right answer and you say good job, are they doing a good calculation? Are they doing good thinking? What are they doing? So we try to get more specific than just good job. So instead, you could say, that's right. Would you please explain your thinking? And here I'm not only saying good job or you got the answer right, but I'm asking you to actually go further. If I'm the teacher and you give me an answer, like if I ask the question, what is 3 plus 4? Can anybody tell me what 3 plus 4 is? And a student says 7 and I say good job. That good job does a couple of things. Number one, it shuts down everybody else's thinking because Sean got it right, so we don't have to think anymore. But secondly, it also prevents you from knowing what the student was thinking in order to get that right answer. So if you say that's right, now would you please explain your thinking, you're actually getting more information out of that student than you would if you just said good job and shut him down. Or you could turn the attention to somebody else. Let's say Zach gets the right answer. Then you can turn to Sean and you can say, Sean, tell us why Zach is right. And if your kids know that you're going to give that kind of a response, then they start listening to other kids' answers so that they can have a turn at explaining why that answer is right or the thinking behind that answer. So when you ask a question, if somebody gives you a right answer, I would like you to go beyond good job. Again, go beyond good job by asking students to give you more information. How did you get that answer? How do you know it's right? Explain your thinking. And you should be doing that for every right answer. You'd be surprised if you were to Google goodbye to good job, you're going to get a list of other things you can say that I haven't included in this video. If I move on to the third grade lesson, again, there were some common themes in that one. One was the common theme of worksheet versus concrete. The second theme was putting in a student versus pulling out of the students. The third one was incorporating both oral and written language. And so I'm going to take those one at a time. Worksheet versus concrete. The worksheets are easy. They're less prep, they're less engaging, and they're the lowest form of concrete. And I did see some worksheets that would almost settle for concrete, probably really more like semi-concrete, but they're the lowest form really of learning. Concrete, on the other hand, takes more time, it takes more thinking, it definitely takes more prep, but it's more engaging, it's more memorable for the students, and there's more learning that takes place. And you'll find that as a teacher you have to weigh it over. You're not going to be able to do a high level of concrete for every single lesson your first year of teaching, and there's always this battle between how much time do I have and how effective do I want to be. So you have to make a decision through professional eyes. If you know that your math lesson is going to be cut short a little bit today, then maybe today's the good day to do the worksheet. If you know you're going to have a full time to give your math lesson, then maybe today would be a good day to focus more on concrete and less on worksheet. Those are professional decisions you have to make. I saw some examples of people who today couldn't access the worksheet, so instead of using a worksheet, they took the ideas from the worksheet and they turned them into concrete activities of some kind. So here the students are cutting out construction paper examples of the different fractions. Same ideas that were on the worksheet, except that it's concrete. The students get to touch what they're working with. Yep, it took more time for the teacher, but in the end it's more effective learning for the students. Another one, so much better than a worksheet, it's cutting out, labeling, putting the final number at the end, whether it was an improper fraction or a mixed numeral. Again, much more effective than a worksheet, and yet it's the same concepts exactly that were on the worksheets that came with the textbook. I'd like to address the idea of putting in the students versus pulling out. When you put into the student's brain, you're the one delivering the information, and it's as if you're just unzipping the brain, dumping the information in, and then expecting them to regurgitate it. So a putting in lesson might sound like, and boys and girls, you know that this is one whole, and over here on the right we have 1/2, and so if we put them all together, we have 1.5, don't we? Well, you just did all the thinking as a teacher. Pulling out would sound more like this. Boys and girls, I'm going to draw two representations on the board. Here I've got a whole piece divided into fourths, and on the other side I've got a whole piece divided into fourths, but I've only colored 3 of them, so I haven't colored all of them. I wonder what could we call this? And one student raises his hand and he says, well, I'm going to count the fourths, so I think we could call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fourths. And you write that down and you say, you know what, I agree, I see 7 fourths there too. And then you say, but is there anything else we could call this picture? And one of the students says, well, I see 1 whole, And then I see 3/4. So could we just push the 1 whole and the 3/4 together? And could we write 1 3/4? And you say, what a great idea. I think we could do that. And so you put up both 1 3/4, both ways, and both the 1 3/4 and the 7/4. And there you've taught, in a nutshell, improper fractions and mixed numerals, but you've pulled it out of the kids instead of giving it to them. And once you've pulled it out, then it's fairly easy to say, you know what the real thing is that we call this? The real name for this number 1 3/4 is a mixed numeral. And the reason it's a mixed numeral is because we've mixed up both a fraction and a whole number. So it's like a mixed up number. We call it a mixed numeral. And the improper fraction is called improper because im means not, so it's not proper. And you know that the proper way, the real way to write a fraction is to put the little number on top and the big number on the bottom. An improper fraction is where we switch that around. The big number's on the top and the little number's on the bottom. So you're still able to put in something, but it's more effective if you're putting in once you've pulled out of them first, and then you're just labeling the work that they did. Again, when you put in, you unzip the head, the teacher does the thinking. When you're pulling out, the student does the thinking, and there's really no surgery involved. The next theme was incorporating oral and written language, and when we do that, what we're really doing is putting words on top of all the numbers that we've written or talked about that day. So the oral language, if you want to get oral language out of your kids, you're going to ask probing questions. The teacher's going to talk less, the students are going to discuss more, and you're going to ask questions like, how do you know? Explain why you think that. Tell us more about your drawing. Written language, you can have kids attach words to their work. Attach a word here, a word there, a sentence here, a sentence there, and here's what that looks like. Here's one of the activities that the groups did today. And a good way to just attach language to that would be to say, boys and girls, would you use words to explain what you did when you glued the fractions onto the piece of paper? Would you see how many words you can use? And so here I've just written what students might write on top of the work that they completed. All in all, you guys did an A lesson for a first lesson. I was really impressed with what I saw. I saw a lot of student engagement, a lot of creativity, a lot of joyful learning, and that's what I'm looking for. See you Thursday.